All right, let's journey way, way back in time. We're going to a moment that literally redefined what it means to be human. This isn't just some random date on a timeline. This is the symbolic dawn of our species, 100,000 BCE.
So let me ask you something. When you think about our entire long history, what do you think was our single greatest breakthrough? I mean, was it discovering fire? Inventing the wheel? Maybe perfecting the spear?
Well, the evidence we're going to look at today suggests that our biggest leap forward wasn't a physical tool at all. It wasn't something you could hold. It was an idea. And the very first clue to this revolutionary idea comes from a single, pretty mysterious object. So let's get into it. Section 1, a mark that changed everything. Our story kicks off deep inside Blombos Cave in South Africa with this small, unassuming piece of red ochre. Now, look closer at those markings. These aren't just random scratches. No way. They are deliberate, cross-hatched patterns, carved about 100,000 years ago.
And here's the real puzzle. This thing has no practical function. You can't hunt with it, you can't build with it. It doesn't do anything. So what is it? Why would someone spend time so carefully carving these abstract lines?
The answer to that question reveals a complete revolution in human thinking. It's what scientists call the Great Cognitive Leap, which brings us right to Section 2. You see, this artifact is one of our earliest signs of something called symbolic thought. To put it simply, it's the ability to let one thing represent another through a shared, agreed-upon meaning. It was like a massive software update for the human brain, and it changed, well, everything. This shift really did change the entire world. In a purely practical world, before this leap, a shell is just a shell. But in the new symbolic world, a shell can suddenly become a status symbol. A red pigment isn't just a mineral anymore. It can represent life itself. And maybe most profoundly, a body is no longer just a body. A burial becomes an act of memory. Now, that piece of ochre from Blombos Cave wasn't a one-off. This new way of thinking was starting to emerge in different places, leaving us these incredible whispers from the past. And that's what we're diving into in Section 3. We start seeing evidence of this symbolic behavior popping up across a huge area, from Blombos Cave and Border Cave down in South Africa, all the way to Skull and Kafsa caves in modern-day Israel. This tells us it wasn't a fluke. It was a true cognitive awakening happening across our entire species.
And the evidence gets even more personal. It's not just some abstract marks on a rock anymore. Archaeologists found these. Tiny, perforated shells, carefully drilled and probably strung together. We are looking at the world's first jewelry. This is the earliest proof we have of self-expression, of someone wanting to tell the world who they are.
But as powerful as that is, the most moving evidence for this whole cognitive leap is found in how our ancestors started to treat their dead. A finding from Kafsa Cave is it's heartbreakingly human. A child was laid to rest, and placed with them was a pair of red deer antlers. Now, these objects had absolutely no survival function. They were there for one reason, because they meant something, to the child or to the community that was mourning their loss. This was not just disposal. This was ritual. This was grief. This was love. For the first time in the archaeological record, we can actually see that emotion made tangible, reaching out beyond death itself. This ability to think in symbols didn't just change our inner worlds, it completely remade our societies, right from the ground up. Which brings us to Section 4, building a symbolic world. It set off this incredible chain reaction. Just think it through. First, symbols, like those beads, create a shared identity. We're the people who wear these. That identity builds trust inside a group. Trust then allows for wider, more complex cooperation. And that kind of cooperation, that was the engine that ultimately fueled our expansion across the globe. The results were a game changer. With symbols, we could build stronger communities. We could communicate much more sophisticated ideas, and we could tell the very first myths and stories. We began creating these unique cultural worlds, giving us a massive cognitive edge over other hominins who were still kind of stuck in a purely practical reality. So let's bring all this together. It's time to summarize this fundamental transformation in our final section, Section 5, from survival to significance.
This one single shift really defines our whole transformation. We went from being the tool maker, who was just focused on surviving in the world, to becoming the meaning maker, a new kind of human capable of living in a world built entirely from ideas. And nothing captures this shift better than our relationship with death. Humans began to see it not just as a biological event, but as a moment that deserved ritual and demanded a profound significance. So this wasn't just another small step in our evolution. What we're seeing in these shells, these markings, and these burials is nothing less than the dawn of the human mind as we know it today. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder. If this was the dawn of our symbolic world, a world that's now filled with flags and brands and art and beliefs, what will its future look like?